So one of my favorite tanks is this Leland 10-gallon low iron. It is just an amazing tank. It's one of my original builds, and anyone who's followed me knows that this tank has gone through several different transitions of rebuilding it and rescaping it, I should say, not rebuilding it, but rescaping it. It houses pretty much about, I think, 16 to 18, can't remember exactly, but 16 to 18 ember tetras. Now, I do have in here as well a Albino Pleco, which is a dwarf. He will get bigger and probably outgrow this tank, even though he's a dwarf. But for now, does a great job of keeping things nice and tidy in the tank. There are some autocinclids in here. There are some shrimp in here. They're not out and about right now, but they are in here. And also something that you don't often see with ember tetras, I do have a couple of German blues in here as well. And the reason for that is I had a tank for them, and there were some issues with that tank. As you remember, some time ago it cracked, and I had to have a place for them. I put them in here, and they've just done so well in here that I just sort of left them in here at this point. So as far as this tank goes, as far as filtration, it does have an internal filtration system that I really like, because you really can't see it. It's very well hidden, and also the heater goes right behind it, so you can't see the heater at all either. One of the things that is happening to this tank that's going to be an issue, and I'm going to have to deal with here soon, as you can see, the German blue is in front of the tank right now. One of them, the female, is somewhere in there. I'm not sure where she's at right now, but anyways, one of the things that I will have to deal with this particular tank is I am seeing a little bit of hair algae, and that's easily taken care of. That's something I've been wanting to talk about, and might as well kind of get that in here while I'm doing this particular video. And that is, if you want to get rid of hair algae, you remove these plants, you take 5% bleach and soak them for about 4 minutes with 5% bleach and water, and then take them out after 4 minutes. Immediately put them in a bowl or vat of fresh water, and put your favorite dechlorinator of whatever kind that happens to be, and that will solve the problem. You will notice for a few days after you do that the hair algae is gone, but there will be a kind of a brownish pink look to the spots where the hair algae was. Within 2-3 days, that'll be gone, and your plants will look fantastic. Do make sure you're careful not to do more than 5% bleach, and make sure that you do put them in a dechlorinator of some kind. Otherwise, you will ruin the plants. If you do this correctly, as I said, you won't have any problems. Be careful not to leave them in there any more than 4 minutes, and be careful, like I said, to make sure that you are putting a good dechlorinator in there to make sure that any of that bleach that remains is gone and taken care of. But this Leland tank I love. Like I said, it's a low iron glass. It's one of my favorite tanks, simply because of the way it's laid out. The glass is so crystal clear that it's really hard to imagine anything as clear as this that you could find out there. Now, something I did not mention, there are some quarries in here as well. I can't find them right now, but I do believe they're Julie quarries. They're not out and about right now, otherwise I would show them to you. But there are a couple of those in here as well. Now, I think there's 3 of them. I don't like to keep quarries in less than a group of 3, just because I think that they do better if they're in 3 or more. So anyways, that is it for the Leland tank, and we'll go on to the next one here, but really a great tank. You can find these online still. Just look up Leland 10-gallon, and they do offer other sizes as well, obviously, but I really enjoy this particular tank. It has been probably one of the most stable tanks that I have of all the tanks, and like I said, these Ember Tetras do really well in here, and I've really had nothing but a great experience with all of this. So Leland tank, 10-gallon, low iron. If you look for that online, you can find it, and I think you'll really enjoy this tank. You will, like I said, have to add your own filtration system to it because it doesn't come with one, and you'll have to put a background on it, whatever your choice might be. I use black on all of mine just because I think it just helps everything to pop a little bit. But once you add those features to it, I think that for the most part you will see that this is a really nice tank overall. Don't have anything bad to say about it at all. The only thing I do wish is that it came with a little bit better of a filtration system, something maybe built in or whatever. They probably make something like that. I just, when I picked this one up, it didn't have that option with it. So anyway, that's the Leland 10-gallon low iron. And if you have any questions about that, leave a comment, ask a question, I'll tell you more about it. This is a Pisces 5-gallon aquatop as well, and this is one of my most favorite tanks because of the fish that are in here and the way that this was scaped. I really enjoy this tank. This is basically features 4 peacock gudgeons and 3 albino cories, as well as there is a small dwarf pleco that's in here. There are some snails in here as well, and a couple of auto cichlids. But other than that, really this tank here is one of my very favorites just because it's so pristine, it's so beautifully laid out, and the fish really enjoy this. I've had these peacock gudgeons. I've featured them several times. I've scaped this tank a couple of different configurations over the year, and just one of my favorite tanks because the fish are so healthy and do so well in here, and I never ever have any problems. We've talked enough about the Aquatop 5-gallon Pisces series, so I'm not going to go into a bunch of that. But I did want to talk about, if you see the little bit of white that's on down here on some of this here, that is snails laying their eggs on there. Now these eggs will never hatch, they just happen to lay eggs for some reason, and they don't ever turn into anything. I don't know why they do that, but I've seen that on several of my tanks over the years. I don't know really enough about it to know why they do it, but it's not a big deal. You can scrape those off. They're very difficult to scrape off, but you can scrape them off. Now, as far as the plants that are in here, we have some cardinal plants in the back here on both sides, just the green. We also have a couple of different swords. We have repens at the very bottom here, and of course the main part of the center of the tank is Petite Nana Nubius, and that is just a beautiful plant that I use in all of my low light plant tanks. Now we're going to move into tanks that are bigger and have more light and different kinds of plants as you see going forward here with this video. But I did want to mention this particular tank just because I like it so much. I've gotten so much joy out of watching this tank sort of take on its own beauty over time, and I really love it. I do. I hope you like it. If you have any questions or comments about it, if you want to ask some questions about these peacock gudgeons, you can. They're very prolific breeders. So if you want to know more about that, you can ask me and I can tell you how to do that. The main thing that you can do to get these guys to breed, number one, is raise your temperature up to about 82, 83 degrees and offer them places where they can lay their eggs, and the male and the female will sort of watch those eggs. There's a whole system that kind of goes to that. I don't allow these guys to breed in here and leave them with the fry, because if you get something like that going, they're typically going to eat the babies after a while. The fry are just not going to survive in here, especially with other fish. So if that does happen and they do breed and I see that the pair is missing for a week or two, often I will basically just let it go. And if they happen to eat the fry, that's something that I'm not too worried about, because I'm not a breeder. I don't intend on doing that. I've thought about it a couple of times, but it's just not something that I want to get into. Anyways, again, another Aquatop 5.0 Pisces, 5.0 gallons is what that means. But it's pretty much a great little tank that I think that anybody that wants to start, like I said, a small nano tank and put nano fish in, this is the perfect tank to do that. There are some snails in here as well that I don't want to get into it, but they are in here, and they're just a great addition. They keep everything nice and tidy. So that's about it for this one here, and we're going to talk a little bit more now about some of the larger tanks that I have. Really not sure what happened there. I was in the middle of videoing and everything went dark, but the last three tanks that we're going to talk about here are the ones in front of us here, and we'll start with the two off to the side over here, on the left over here and on the right here. And those are a company called Imaginarium, which is a Petco product. What I like about these is they are true 3.7 gallon nano size tanks. In other words, the filtration is built into the back side of it, but the space where you have your water and your substrate, your rock, your hardscape, your plants and everything, 3.7 gallons of that is the true 3.7 gallons that's used for all of that, which makes it a very nice tank for any kind of nano tanks that you might want to build. Now this one over here, we'll start on this one. This is Dragonstone with some Petite Nana, some Repens. There is some water lettuce in there, and there are some lilies in there that sprout up in the middle. I do have to cut those back occasionally. They're kind of overgrown right now, but they are something that I will be taking care of, like I said, with the other one that we talked about earlier that's all grown back, or grown out, I should say, and needs a trim. I will be doing that as well at the same time that I do these. I will be trimming them up. There's lots of great cuttings that come from these. These have been set up about 1.5 years. I really, really like them. The light system in here is fantastic for low light to medium plants, so that they do a great job. The one over here on the right side has, well, let's get back to this one over here. This one over here, what you have is some Celestial Pearl Danios in there. You have a couple of auto cichlids. There is a Picosmus in there, a dwarf one, which is a true dwarf because he's really never gotten very big, but he does a great job of just keeping the tank fantastically clean. So that's something I really like. And like I said, the auto cichlids that are in there, there's a couple of those. But something else that's in here that I have had, probably, they're some of the first two fish that I ever had, and that is two sparkling Gouramis. And if you've not heard sparkling Gouramis make noise in a tank, then you've missed out on something if you're a hobbyist and you don't have them. Go out and get yourself a couple of sparkling Gouramis. They love nano-sized tanks. Now, they are shy. They hide a lot, But when they do come out and about for feeding time late in the afternoon or something like that, they're really a joy to watch. As far as this tank over here on the right facing me, that tank there has blue neon rasporas and also some chili rasporas in there. There's about 7 of each in that tank. There's also a couple of autocinclids, but that is filled with red cherry shrimp as well. And so that's and there is in both of these tanks snails as well, nearite snails, which I really like. I think they do a great job of keeping tanks really clean, and they just sort of move around at their own pace, and beautiful shells on them too, so that's always fun to look at. Now, the center tank here is a 20-gallon water box cube. One of my favorite tanks as well. That's a recent build. That's not more than probably 2 to 3 months old. After that doesn't include the cycle. The cycle, of course, was a little longer than that, but this is basically maple stone with tons of repens in here, some cardinal, green cardinal plants, some swords. There are some grasses in the far corner which need to be trimmed back a little bit, but the center portion of this is just one giant piece of wood with a bunch of petite nana anubias in there that I stuck all over the place, and there's some congenius nana, or not nana, but anubias in here as well, and they're all doing great. This is one of my favorite tanks, stocked with 3 angelfish. There are some lemon tetras in here. There is also a couple of cichlids in here that I don't remember what they are, but we also have some cories in here that are the panda cories. I have 2 or 3 of those. There is a Gouramis in here that's getting a little bit big for this particular tank, so I'll be moving him out of there fairly soon. Of course, there are some autocinclids in there, maybe 2 or 3. Not a ton of them, but just enough to keep any algae issues down. Now, the one thing I don't like about autocinclids is when they get bigger, they start sucking on those leaves, and they do tend to suck so hard that they leave marks on them, and that's the one thing I don't like about having the Gouramis in there, other than the fact that if they're small, they do a great job of cleaning, but if they get too big, they're a little bit destructive on plants. So you got to be careful and watch that and make sure that you get them out of there before they get too destructive on your plants. Now, one of the really, really cool fish in here is a orange flame, what am I trying to say? They're not a cichlid, but in the cichlid family. But anyways, there's 2 of those, a male and a female in here, and they are around usually. I don't see them right now. Actually, I do see them. You probably won't see him on camera, unfortunately, because he's sitting far in the back there. But the male is very vibrant in color. The female, not so much, as is typical in any kind of fish family. But if you can see him in the front there as you're watching the video, he's kind of cruising around in the center of those plants. Beautiful fish, just absolutely beautiful fish. And you see down at the bottom, there's the female. Now, they are a breeding pair. I have spawned them twice already. Unfortunately, they ate the young. They did not learn how to be very good parents at first. So anyways, they are a mating pair. But I love this water box aquarium for so many reasons. It's got some of the best filtration of anything I've ever, or any aquarium that I've ever had. It is one that I really, really enjoy. In fact, I have a second one coming that is a 20-gallon. I also have another 100-gallon coming by them that I will be setting up here soon. But just absolutely amazing amazingly built. The glass is low iron, it's crystal clear. There is very little that I don't like about it. Like I said, the one thing I did not like, it did not come with any kind of lighting at all. They do sell Kessel lights with these, but the price for those was just not something I was willing to pay for. And I have a German company. The light that's on there now is a German company that I like a lot. The name kind of slips me right now. In fact, it's kind of hard to say. I'd probably butcher it anyway, but it's a fantastic light. I use it on this one and also on my larger aquarium that it was the first part of this tour of my fish room here that I showed you early on. I think it was the very first tank that I showed you, but they both use the same lighting system. This filtration system on this thing is fantastic though. It has ceramic, it has charcoal, it has several sponges in both sides, and it also has off to the very side of it a sock which collects and you can clean it. It's a reusable one. Many of these socks are just throwaway because they're made out of fabric or fiber of some kind. This is a nylon type sock that you can just basically rinse out when it starts to get a little plugged up or whatever, and you can easily wash it and then just put it right back in. It's a great little system. I really like it a lot. Waterbox is a great company, and also getting a sponsorship from them here soon. So I'm real excited about that, and hope that I can bring you more Waterbox products on down the road here. I hope we can do that and do that soon. So we got a lot of great things coming up here. This is basically a small sample of the tanks that I have in both my office and around my home, and I hope you enjoyed it. Please hit that like, hit that subscribe, and hit that comment. Really would appreciate it. I love hearing from you guys because any feedback is great. Any questions that I can answer for you about any of these aquariums, whether it be the Aquatop brands, the Cobalt, the Waterbox, the Imaginarium. I have a ton of different kinds. Like I said, mostly Aquatop, but I do have several other brands. The brand that I'm telling you that I like the most is this Waterbox. It is just an amazing aquarium, and just beautiful and easy to work with. One of my favorites. So anyways, that's it for this video here. We'll get together soon and talk about anything. I'm going to do probably a Q&A here over the next couple of weeks on different things that I have learned about some of the filtration. We'll get more intricate into the equipment itself. But basically, I just wanted to give you a tour of my fish room and kind of show you what I had. Thank you for joining me, and we'll see you on the next one.